How do you deal with the burnout that so many DevRels go through when wearing too many hats? Jen, this is a great question. There are a few things that I think are really important here. First, as a DevRel, you want to be thinking about, like, do I find the excitement of DevRel energizing or draining? There are ways that you can do DevRel that aren't from the fire hose. You can do things like community management. You can do things like building out developer loyalty programs like the GDE program at Google or the MVP program at Microsoft. Like, these are things that can be built and maintained and grown and perfected over time. So you can do DevRel in a way that doesn't necessarily require you to be always on, always in the chaos. But it's important to recognize which types of activity give you energy versus stress you out, because you have to be in alignment with your own values, or a job will burn you out. Like, kind of just straight up, period. Like, that's how it works. At the beginning of your career, the incentive is to say yes to everything because you want to try everything. You want to be useful to folks. You want to grow your network. You want to be somebody that people can rely on. As you show promise, as you start to build out your network, your resume, your just overarching body of work, more people will ask you for things, and saying yes to everything starts to become a detriment because you get overloaded. You don't have time to actually do a great job on anything, so you're kind of like rushing things out the door. You're overtired, which means your work's not as high quality. And so now it starts to become important to only say yes some of the time. You have to actually start learning to say no, because that's how you're going to get good work done. Is recognizing that there are a lot of good ideas and a lot of good opportunities that you simply cannot do. And so the bonus points here is, instead of just saying no, find somebody who needs that opportunity and recommend them for it. Find somebody who's still early in their career and say, hey, I don't have time for this, but they would be killer for it. You should go talk to them. Then as you get even further along, you're going to get to the point where, like, what you really have time for is virtually nothing that you get invited to do. Your yeses become really few and far between. People are going to want you to be on webinars. People are going to want you to write articles. People are going to want you to collab with their product. And all of these ideas are probably good, but you won't have time for them all. And so it means that you're almost always going to be saying, I'm so sorry, I don't have time for that. You should talk to this person instead. The other big piece of avoiding burnout is figuring out how to reuse work. And so y'all may have heard me talk about this idea of the buffalo stick. When Sarah Jasner was my boss, she always talked about feeding two birds with one stone, which is, I love that. I love that adaptation of the saying, because it's always fun to, feed animals instead of whacking them with things. But then she would also talk about this idea of using every part of the buffalo. So when you do work, you should make sure that you don't leave a whole bunch of useful work in the bin because it was prep or research for the thing that you created. So if you're writing an article and you build a demo as part of that, and you build a demo, you're going to interview some experts, you're going to do a bunch of research, find a bunch of good articles. That interview could be a great thing to put out as a podcast. The research could be a wonderful list of, like, here are 10 great articles about how to do concept. The demo that you built could be an installable template or a good starting point for somebody to look at on GitHub. The article itself is obviously useful. You could record a podcast version of that article where you are explaining it in video format. Then you could turn it into a conference talk. And suddenly this one effort has started to become like 10 different things, and you didn't actually do all that much more work than if you had just done the one article that you were working on in the first place. What you're trying to do is multi-leverage work. And the way that it became the buffalo stick is because Sarah Jasner is both intentionally and unintentionally hilarious. And one of the things that she does is she will just, like, smash things together into complete nonsense. So feed two birds with one stone became use every part of the buffalo, became scratch multiple buffalo with the same stick, and then it's just, shortened to the buffalo stick for shorthand and easy communication. Kelvin, how would you tackle DevRel as the only DevRel in a startup? This is a great question, because I think this is where DevRel starts for a lot of companies. Like, when we're talking about DevRel, what you are trying to do is create a relationship with the community that would use your tool. Right? So that's the whole job. You are trying to go out there and become a proactive and good citizen of the community that your company wants to serve. And the whole reason that that job exists is because developers don't really like to be sold to. developers want recommendations from people that they consider to be peers. It's more like, all right, I got a problem. Who do I know that has solved these problems before, whose opinion I respect? Who would I ask this question to? And the entire function of DevRel is to try to position yourself as the person who gets asked for those questions that are the ones that your tool answers. As the only DevRel on the team, the most critical thing is thinking about how do you give more than you get to the community, right? Because we can all smell it when somebody only shows up when they need something, right? And like, we've all been in Discords and Slacks and stuff where literally the only thing that ever comes out of one person is like, buy my thing, sign up for my newsletter. Being really active, proactive in the community where people see you as a person who's a net addition to the community, as opposed to somebody who's only there when they need something or somebody who's only there to extract value. That is how you create actual value in your role as a DevRel. That's how you create real connections where you become a person who is considered a good member of the community, and how you become somebody that people trust when you give a recommendation, right? So the real trick as being a DevRel, especially if you're the only DevRel on the team, is find the thing that your company does that you can earnestly get excited about, and then go out into the community and try to help people build that same excitement, right? Because that makes you're helping people learn, you're trying to give people something to enjoy and to learn and to be excited about. And all of that leads to you being somebody who adds more than you take to the community. All of that is a little squishy, but ultimately what it means is like people should look forward to you being around. If all you do is extract value, then you are not building relationships, you are exploiting relationships. It takes a really long time to build trust and to make somebody feel like you're there for the good of everybody. And as soon as you show your ass and you only want something and you're not willing to do something unless you get a favor in return or any of those other things, you burn all of that trust. So all the goodwill that was there is suddenly evaporated. And now you are seen as the person who only wants something. How important is it that a DevRel actually uses the product? The function of DevRel is to add context and nuance and guidance around how a product fits into the overall story of somebody's workflow. And to do that well, you have to have more than a surface level understanding of the tool. You can't understand the nuance of something if all you know is the headlines. It is very challenging to go out and properly advocate for something if any question that goes deeper than surface level is going to be met with, I'm not sure, I'll have to check on that for you. Kelvin, DevRel is easier when you actually like and use the product you're advocating for. 100,000%. Like, it is so easy to smell it when somebody's heart isn't in the thing they're doing. It's so important. And I want to be careful here because I am not saying, I mean, if you follow me anywhere, you've heard me kind of rail against this idea that you have to have passion. But I do think you need to be able to find the joy in the thing you're doing. And if you find your job actively dull, if you find the thing that you're doing to be just like kind of miserable, it's so hard to fake enthusiasm. For me, one of the major meta points of my career, I think maybe the most valuable thing I've ever learned, is that the act of learning is fun in and of itself. And the meta game of learning how to learn is joyful. I find it really fun to just like hop into anything, whether it's a tech related problem or cooking or, whatever it is. I'm going to just fly in, be bad at it, but I know that I'm pretty good at learning. So if I watch some videos, I read some articles, I talk to an expert, I'm going to be able to figure it out and I'm going to do an okay job. And if I keep practicing, then I'll do a great job. This is how things work. If you continue to try and put in the reps and make deliberate efforts to improve the things that you're struggling with, you will get good at them. One of my favorite things to watch is one of those videos where somebody, they're like, I'm going to learn the drums, and they practice every day for a year. And that first day they're like off beat. They can't do anything. And over the course of just 1 year of playing a little bit every day, they become good drummers. And it's not magic. It's just showing up. It's just continuing to put in the reps.